Take that to your mama. Take that to mama. If she learns to sing like her mama does, we'll let her up here all the time. Why don't you take your Bibles and let's look at a verse or two over in Matthew. Matthew 5, verse 13, 14, 16. You're the salt of the earth. But if the salt has becomes tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out, trampled underfoot by men. And you are the light of the world. The city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under their basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. You've been called out as born again believers and as part of this church to give hope to a lost and dying world right here in this community. And I just sat down this week and wrote down some things that you've done this year. And we as a church, you may have forgotten. But first of all, I want to begin with it. This past year, we lost 8 people that were real dear to us here in this church. They passed away, and they went on to be with the Lord. And I thought one of them was showing up this morning when I saw a white Corvette pulling in. But instead, just a daughter got out. But we lost a lot of dear people this year, and they'll be missed. But I don't want them back. I wouldn't bring them back from where they're at now. I'm just glad I got to know them and be a part of their life. We had some rough times this year. We fought some spiritual battles. Cost us about 20 people throughout the year on some stuff, and that's not unusual for a church. If you're doing something for the Lord, there's going to be some disagreements. There's going to be some issues rise up and happen. Most of these are in another church somewhere, and that's good. But it's something you don't ever want as a pastor. But it's inevitable that it's going to happen. I've been doing this for going on 40 years, and it's always going to do that. But when you're impacting the world, there's going to be people that think the salt's too salty or not salty enough. I cook every Wednesday night, and I watch some of y'all. You ain't even tasted it. You just pick up a salt shaker and dump it and stuff. I have others went over there and they look at something and they say, "Is it hot?" I cooked it. Well, it's either too hot, not salty enough, or whatever. But people are going to disagree with certain things, and so that's part of reality. But I want to look at the positives you did this year. We started off January last year really blessed. We were given a good bit of money right at the end of 2022, and it allowed us to do some things that we wouldn't have been able to do outside of that. First of all, if you'll grab hold of that chair you're sitting in, there were 180 of those bought this year, and we did away with the white ones. So that was part of that. We built us a new kitchen and a dining area. All our labor was pretty well done in church. So all we had to spend was money to buy the materials and do that. And it's a fantastic commercial kitchen, and I'm really proud of that. Um, we just finished a garage to put our van and our bus in, um, and so they got through with that just right before Christmas, and and then we bought that bus, which allows us to do some great things and travel and do some things on that. So we had a lot of construction this year. We added a lot of parking lot, concrete parking this past year. So we've done a lot right there, just in the physical. So the community looks around and they says, there's something happening up there because they're building. Or there's people up there, there's something going on all the time. So you're impacted because they realize there's something happening. But then the ministry side of it that we've done, we started a couple of new ministries this year. One of them was with Caleb meeting with the Trail Life boys. It's similar to Boy Scouts. They started that last spring and just got it going, and then school turned out. But it's up and going now. And what do you got, 11 or 12 boys coming now? 12 boys. And so we're nurturing these boys in a Christian atmosphere, involving parents and stuff like that. But also, he started doing uh, multimedia stuff, and that's growing. And he's expanding that, and it's really opened some doors to some things for us that I never dreamed about. That we'd have people listening to us all around the world and hearing the gospel. That's one thing we're going to try to work on this new year with some new things. Ongoing ministries, our ladies group. I wanted Melinda to be here to share a little bit, but they're having cow problems today, so they're doing some of that. But the ladies' ministry has reached out way beyond the walls of the church, and they do a lot of things together. Last I heard, there was 170 something people involved in that in some aspect or other. So they're lifting each other up, being positive. She puts out daily devotionals that ladies can follow. But it's a good bonding deal. Bud and Carla, y'all raise your hand in case they don't know you. They took over our daytime wranglers, and I knew Bud would be a good chauffeur, but Carla is the coordinator and the boss, and she has done a good job, and they have both done an excellent job of finding things for our senior adults to do, and they're doing a good job, and it's keeping it excited. They keep you going, and I guess we're starting back in January, February. All right, we're going to start back in February. But they jumped in here and started that, and they have done an excellent job in that, and I'm real proud of that. Food ministries. This has been a big thing here at this church for ever since we started it. We started feeding breakfast when we was meeting in my shop. That's been something we've done constantly. There's been over 450 dozen eggs cooked this past year at this church on Sunday morning. Well, somebody had to get up here and cook sausage, biscuits, and eggs for you. Well, that's been an ongoing deal. And they do that so that you can come, fellowship, and have a free breakfast. And they do that without anything other than just glad to be a part of it. And I'm thankful for that. A couple of years ago, we started our Wednesday night meals where we started serving, charging $3. And I'm sure what we could cook for $3. But through God's grace and some donation of some cattle and stuff, we are able to feed pretty good. And we fed over 2,400 meals this past year doing that. And so who cooks that? The Wednesday night crew that comes up here and works all afternoon. Costs you $3. And but God's blessed with that. So that's doing good. Memorial Day, I'm a fisherman. went out and fished. A good excuse to leave the house. We've had 250 people and first responders, law enforcement, and veterans last Memorial. That's the third year we've done that. 125 pounds of fish, 100 pounds of potatoes. I forget how many hush puppies, but we cook and cook and cook and fed and fed. But a lot of people working to do that. Why? To get people to come hear the gospel, show them we love them and care for them. The rodeo, we always set up a hospitality wagon back in the back, give tea and drinks and popsicles and way. Estimated we touched about 350 lives this past year there at the rodeo, being a part of that. By just giving away free popsicles and tea and lemonade and water. You'd be amazed at how many people will sit and talk to you about that. And this is what you as a church are doing. You may not be involved directly, but you're doing these things to reach out to people on that. Fall Festival. Jimmy and Quila sitting back over there. They're key in this part. How many funnel cakes we give away this year? Two, right at 250. We used to try various things, and they came up with funnel cakes. There's two things about a funnel cake. They're addictive. Everybody wants one. And it takes a while to cook one, so we talk to them while they're waiting. But they're also one of the cheapest desserts you can put out. About, excuse me, about 35 cents will give you a good funnel cake. And so that's when you're not paying labor. But so, all right, Carol, you're going to get me started here in a minute. I was doing pretty good for a while. We also joined together with Omaha Cares, and we cooked stew for Omaha Cares, who raises money for cancer victims within the Paul Pewitt School District. They help them raise money through that, and so it allows us to be a part of the community. Many of you involved in Chamber of Commerce, various groups, fire department, first responders, and whatever. Let me encourage you to continue to do that, because through that, you're able to be a witness to a lot of people. Tanya, you want to give a report on the youth while I get me some peppermint? She didn't know this was coming. How many went to camp? How many people on Wednesday night? I don't need. I got some water. Thank you. you've done a lot of basics too outside of uh, Christian biblical stuff. You've done some stuff in teaching them how to take care of themselves in worldly situations they may deal with. So the youth program is it's a little bit of everything because a lot of these kids are not learning some of these things at home. I know of several issues where they've dealt with issues on how to take care of their personal hygiene and various things because of their home life, and they've dealt with a lot of social issues and various things that they're dealing with. So it's a unique situation when you're dealing with these uh, youth, and they're doing a good job, and it takes a lot of volunteers to help them with that. Katie and Caleb's been kind of heading up the children's department. Um, we run anywhere from 9 to 18 kids on Sunday morning, and usually 9 to 10 kids on Wednesday night. We had a couple play days in 23 where we get out here with the kids and invite parents from all over and advertise it and put on a mini rodeo. I guess it's 2 all we had, Mike. Well, that's what I got, 2 and 2. That's what I can remember. And so we've been doing some things with the arena and various things on those. We did movies in the park through the summer. That didn't go over real well. Don't know if it was lack of advertisement or lack of participation, but we showed some Christian films up there free of charge. We did a couple of concerts where we sponsored everything, and neither one of those seemed to take off. And I don't understand why exactly, but they didn't do quite as good as what we'd like for them to. Trunk or treat. I was gone this one, but we've managed to do that every year for the past 4 or 5 years. And a lot of y'all participate in this, and we give them scriptures, we give them various things, as well as just ministering to them and giving out various things. We were doing an after school program through May when the school was adjusting to the 4-day school week. They were concerned about children not having a place to go on Friday, and so we joined with the school on that, and did that, and then we kind of determined. I guess every family finally kind of made some adjustments to where that's worked out for them, and there wasn't so much a need for us to do that anymore. Um, we took a trip to Branson. I carried a bunch of heathens up there in the bus, and had a great time, and it worked out real good. We went to see that. Hopefully, we'll do that again. Benevolence. We've had a lot of situations this year with cancer victims, in house and out of house. And we've helped raise money and distribute money in various ways. And I didn't have an accurate number, but somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000 went out from this body into the helping people pay their bills and meet their living expenses while doing chemo. We did a lot of meals to these people while they was in chemo, and it's been helping them in a lot of these situations and stuff. So that was a big thing. A lot of you never knew about, and it's intentional. Um, it's a private issue, and we try to help the people we can when we can. And at various times, people give money into the church just for a specific deal. Well, it wasn't all money from the church. It was a lot of some of this money came in designated and would go there, but a lot of money was given out, and we helped several families on that mission project. There was a lot of local projects done, small projects, helping here and there, fixing people's houses or electrical or carpentry, and various things that men in this body do to help individuals. Very few of you know about that, but if a need arises and they can address it, they love to do it, and for one purpose only, and that's to glorify Christ. We support foreign missionaries every month with percentage going into international missions and supporting missionaries. My daughter and son-in-law are in Spain. They've been overseas now for 10 years. They were in Serbia for 9 years and now in Spain. We give them some money to help them with their missions and ministry. But we also contribute into a global fund to help missions around the world, and that's part of the everyday monthly giving that comes into the church. Through our multimedia, Caleb was contacted by a man from Kenya and wanted to know if he could use some of my sermons in Kenya. And he told him if they could translate East Texan into Kenyan, they could. We found out that they needed some Bibles. So at BBS, we raised enough money to send them 50 Bibles that were in the Kenyan language to them, and we stay in touch with them on a fairly regular basis. We raised enough money there, not only for those 50 Bibles, that I stumbled onto a group that was trying to raise money for a rehab center in Clarksville. So I researched them a little bit, and I carried them somewhere around $450 down there for that to help them on rehab on those and stuff. And then the preacher doesn't know when to not do construction work. My elders laughed today when I told them I'd finished. They said, yeah. Last May, we were at a senior adult rally down there, and I asked Sid about a parking lot, when he was going to get it done. He said, I can't get anybody to pour concrete. Been trying for 3 years. And I said, well, as soon as I finish my kitchen, I'll get you a crew and we'll do it. I said, how long do you think it'll take? 2 weeks. Started the beginning of the second week in November, and I finished Friday. But we poured 18,000 square feet of flat work, 800 feet of sidewalk, another 600 foot of curb and gutter, plus some drainage patterns. And we did that so when you go to the camp, you'll have a good place to park. And it will enhance that experience. So that was a mission that I took on. And I'm probably better at those projects than I am being a pastor. But I've spent my life building. It's been a 20-year project for me. When I look at it, I don't see the physical. I see the lives that are touched. Anybody can build the buildings. But what I'm most impressed about is the lives that come and go out of this church and get to hear the gospel. And it's the same way with everything that we do. That's the focus, and that's what I want the focus to be on this next year. We saw 20 people come to know the Lord and follow in baptism this past year. 4 of those were on that trip to Branson, and I get out in the cold water, and we do it in a lake, and it's a pretty joyful thing. But we've seen a lot, and it was a pretty good year. You might, if you come and you're not involved in some of this stuff, you might be surprised how much work goes on up here by various people to make all these things happen. But it's because they want to be the salt of the earth. They want to be a light to the community. And we do that because the gospel requires us to minister to people and to be out there. We're not called to we're not called to be politically correct. We're called to present truth. And truth is not always easy. It's not always openly accepted. But the truth is what they will be judged by when they stand in front of the throne of God. It's what I will be judged by when I stand in front of the throne of God. Did I preach truth? Or did I preach things that made people feel good? It's hard sometimes when you have to confront some of the worldly issues and let people know what the Bible says. But if I don't, then I will give an account. And I don't know about you, but getting into heaven is not enough for me. If I can't get in there and stand boldly before my King and literally look down on me and say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," then it's not worth it. I don't want to get in. I want to stand before Him and know that I've done all that I could to proclaim His glorious name to a lost and dying world. And that's what we look to do this coming year. One of the things we're going to research, I'm probably going to start a little Bible study this year, and we're going to film it, called a Barnyard Bible Study. I'm going to come around to some of y'all's places and everything. We're going to do some with the chuck wagon. I'm going to get it outside. I want to teach some basics, and I want to do a 30-minute video Bible study from giving the purpose behind the Bible and the authority of the Bible, so how to get saved, how to walk with Christ, how to grow your faith, how to learn the bare basics about Christianity. What does it mean to be baptized? What does it mean to be born again? And so I want to begin developing those so we can put those out over the internet. Because what I've noticed this past year, a lot of people that listen to our church are in very rural areas and do not have a place to go or a church that they can attend. And yet they're plugging into some of our stuff because they can relate to this culture. And so I'm developing that, and I'm working with Caleb. We started talking about this week. And want to start that. And want to explain to people why the Bible, is authoritative. You know, in all other religions, they'll have one authoritative book, and then they have others to go with it. But their authoritative book is subject to be changed and added to. The Book of Mormon, as of 15 years ago, I hadn't checked since, had more than 580 changes since its inception in the 1700s. This book here, parts of it's more than 3,000 years old. All of it's more than 2,000 years old. And you can trace it back to the oldest records we find and find out it still has not been adapted or changed, and it's authoritative. In other words, God inspired the writers to write, and it is good for today as well as tomorrow in the future. But every other, the Book of Mormon, the Qumran is subject to change. They don't even use the Qumran very much anymore. They've got prayer books they use, and theirs are constantly being adjusted and adapted to the very situation. The only religious book in the world today that remains in its original intent is the Bible. It's the living Word of God. And people need to understand that, and they need to understand the basic truth behind it and how it came about and how we have it today. And so I want to do a Bible study on that as well as some of these other things because they need to know where to find truth. Because there are people searching out for a religious experience. Well, if they're going to have a religious experience, I want them to have one with Jesus and not somebody else. Well, that's where we're going to be going this next year. I don't see any big construction project. Jimmy and Bob and the guys are going to start working on the old kitchen and getting it to where it matches and stuff. So, going to be a pretty light year, I guess. If the preacher finds some. But really want to spend a lot of time developing some of these other things. Hope you'll be a part of it. Hope you'll be invested in it. Financially, physically, whatever. You know, you can do a whole lot more with people than you can money. A lot of churches end up paying for a lot of staff to do all the work. And the people miss out on the blessing. The blessing is when you're there, giving out a bottle of water or a snow cone or funnel cake or something, and you see the joy that comes. You see the people wanting to know, why? Why are you doing this? Well, we just love the Lord. We love people. Why would you come do these things? Well, that's what it means to be the light of the world. And that's what we're going to be this next year. I think I better quit. I should be better next week. Hope I can come up with a hellfire brimstone preach sermon. Get together on that. Brother Davlin, would you close us in prayer? Because I don't think I can.